The Book of Enoch, part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is the oldest apocalyptic writing known to history. Despite focusing on a biblical figure mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, it was not included in the official canon of Christianity and Judaism. To understand Enoch's significance and why his story was preserved, we start with the canonical Bible. In the Bible, Enoch is briefly mentioned in Genesis as the son of Jared, descended from Seth, the third son of Adam and Eve. Notably, Enoch lived for nearly 365 years, and his lineage includes Methuselah, known for his exceptional longevity before the flood. The New Testament adds that Enoch pleased God and was taken up due to his faith, entering heaven without experiencing death. This marks the extent of Enoch's biblical account. To explore Enoch further, we turn to non-canonical texts like the apocryphal Enoch books and scrolls. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls between 1947 and 1956 revolutionized biblical studies, revealing ancient texts of religious importance. Among them, the Ethiopian Book of Enoch is significant as the oldest known apocalyptic text, likely dating back to the 3rd century BC. For context, the Book of Revelation in the New Testament dates to around 95 AD. The reason the extensive account of Enoch's story is often known as the Ethiopian Book stems from its preservation primarily in ancient Ethiopian language. This ties closely with its central importance within the Ethiopian Church, setting it apart from other Jewish and Christian communities worldwide, where it hasn't been officially included in the canon. Could this be due to hidden knowledge challenging both our religious beliefs and our understanding of the world? Enoch's ascension, as mentioned, portrays him being taken alive into heaven by God, a mystery the Bible leaves vague. The Ethiopian Book of Enoch elaborates, suggesting Enoch received divine insights during his ascension, including details about the fall of angels. For instance, the Book of the Watchers describes how the angel Semyaza leads others in descending to earth to cohabit with human women, resulting in giants who provoke divine wrath. God banishes the angels and decrees their fate to face a fiery judgment on the day of judgment, with Enoch tasked to deliver this message after gaining insights during his ascent. The Book of Enoch introduces a cosmology of multiple heavens, unlike other religious texts mentioning only one. It details a hierarchy, the first heaven with clouds and stars, the second where fallen angels await judgment, the third as paradise with both righteous souls and punishment, and culminating in the seventh, where God's throne and select archangels reside. The meticulous process of selecting canonical texts aimed to preserve the Bible's message's integrity and coherence, ensuring it remained a reliable guide for Christian faith and practice. The Book of Enoch, however, seems to have originated under questionable circumstances. Its narrative diverges significantly from the other 66 books of the Bible, lacking ancient translations suggesting a more modern origin. While fragments in Aramaic have been found indicating some ancient awareness, there's no evidence it underwent the rigorous scrutiny typical of other biblical texts by first-century Christians. Enoch enthusiasts and proponents of theories like pre-astronautics offer various reasons why they believe the Book of Enoch was excluded from the Bible. Yet, viewed strictly historically, it becomes evident that the Book of Enoch doesn't fit within the established biblical canon. The theory suggesting it was removed due to a global conspiracy and its content relates to alien abduction is sensational. This interpretation stems from the pre-astronautics paradigm, proposing ancient civilizations were visited by extraterrestrial beings. Here, the entity in Enoch's book descending to earth and interacting with humans is seen not as divine, but as alien, with the traditional God figure reinterpreted as the leader of these beings rather than the heavenly creator. Enoch's ascension to paradise is viewed as an alien abduction, interpreting his journey through encounters with advanced extraterrestrial technology and beings. This theory offers a speculative alternative to conventional religious views on the Book of Enoch, diverging significantly from mainstream interpretations. The idea that extraterrestrial intelligences interacted with humanity in the past, worshipped as heavenly beings, fascinates within pre-astronautics. Proponents suggest these unseen observers may intervene again, perceiving humanity on the brink of self-destruction, especially with advanced destructive capabilities like atomic bombs. According to pre-astronautics, these beings might intervene to guide humanity back on track. Babylon, situated along the Euphrates River about 50 miles south of present-day Baghdad, has a storied history. As the capital of the Babylonian Empire, Babylon was renowned for its architectural marvels, cultural contributions, and strategic significance. Though much of its history remains shrouded, ancient texts and archaeological findings offer insights. First mentioned on a clay tablet from Sargon of Akkad's time, around 2334 to 2279 BC, Babylon thrived as a metropolis. The city's decline, detailed in biblical texts and historical records, marked the end of an era. Over time, Babylon faded, its original name lost by the 10th century AD, ultimately becoming deserted. The last inhabitants, residing in a nearby village, were eventually displaced, leading to Babylon's final disappearance. During its peak, Babylon flourished as the epitome of ancient urban civilization, renowned for its immense size and vibrant population that likely exceeded 200,000 inhabitants, a remarkable figure for its era. Encompassing around 2,200 acres, Babylon's expansive layout underscored its prominence in ancient Mesopotamia. Though its golden age has faded, remnants of its grandeur endure as silent witnesses to its illustrious past. Despite enduring raids and the passage of time, some structures still stand today, echoing its former magnificence. These archaeological sites offer a glimpse into Babylon's ancient glory, attracting visitors worldwide and connecting them to one of history's earliest and most influential civilizations. Herodotus, the celebrated Greek historian, was awestruck by Babylon's grandeur and uniqueness when he saw it firsthand. He praised its vast size and radiant beauty, considering it superior to any other city. However, Babylon's greatness evolved over centuries. Originally a modest settlement 90 kilometers south of modern Baghdad, it transformed into a cosmopolitan hub during the 3rd millennium BC. Under King Hammurabi, who reigned from 1792 to 1750 BC, Babylon experienced significant growth. Hammurabi's reign was marked by expansive conquests, including the defeat of Assyrian king Ishmi-Dagon and the establishment of Babylon as a dominant power in Mesopotamia. Hammurabi reformed Babylon's administration, promoted agriculture, and commissioned grand temples. Despite his military successes, Hammurabi prioritized improving his subjects' lives. Upon his death, Babylon had become the heart of a formidable empire, ruling over Mesopotamia. However, political instability after Hammurabi's successors led to Babylon's decline. Foreign powers, including the Hittites, Kassites, and Assyrians, eventually overtook the First Babylonian Empire, marking the end of its initial zenith. After the death of the Assyrian ruler Ashurbanipal, the Neo-Assyrian Empire descended into chaotic turmoil. A fierce civil war erupted within its borders, further destabilizing the realm. Seizing the opportunity amidst this unrest, figures like the Chaldean leader Nabopolassar sought to grasp power. Nabopolassar formed alliances with various ethnic groups, capitalizing on the empire's disarray. Together, they successfully overthrew the Neo-Assyrian Empire, allowing Nabopolassar to ascend to the throne of the newly established Neo-Babylonian Empire in 626 BC. Upon his death, Nabopolassar left behind a fortified capital and immense wealth to his son, Nebuchadnezzar II. Nebuchadnezzar II dedicated himself to preserving his father's legacy and elevating Babylonia to prominence in ancient society, a goal he achieved. During his reign, the Neo-Babylonian Empire controlled Assyria and vast territories across Asia Minor, northern Arabia, Israel, and Phoenicia. Nebuchadnezzar II initiated significant projects, including the expulsion of Jews from Babylon, the conquest of Jerusalem, and the construction of iconic structures like the Ishtar Gate and the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The attribution of the construction of the legendary Tower of Babel to Nebuchadnezzar II remains highly debated. This biblical tale portrays it as a monumental project symbolizing human ambition to rival divine authority, resulting in divine intervention where God confounded human languages, dispersing people across the world, and giving rise to diverse languages as recounted in the Old Testament. After Nebuchadnezzar II, the rulers who followed lacked his success. In the decade after his death, the Neo-Babylonian Empire saw 4 different rulers, culminating in Nabonidus. Nabonidus, of Assyrian descent, saw himself as Assyria's heir, despite its previous defeat by Babylon. He aimed to revive ancient traditions during his 17-year rule, earning him the title of the Archaeologist King. However, his projects faced public disapproval, especially from Marduk's priests, as Nabonidus favored the moon god Sin over Marduk. His frequent absences further alienated him from the people, with reasons ranging from illness to questionable sanity. This dissatisfaction led to chaos in Babylon, exacerbating its decline. Babylon's fall and the end of the Neo-Babylonian Empire coincided with rising Persian power under Cyrus II. The decisive Persian victory over the Lydians in 549 BC encircled Babylon, leading to its eventual surrender to the Persian Empire. Accounts differ on whether Babylon fell to siege or capitulation. Nonetheless, Cyrus II's conquest ushered in a new era, integrating Babylonia into the Persian Empire with Aramaic as the official language, though Akkadian remained prominent. Cyrus II also allowed the exiled Jews to return home, marking a pivotal moment in their history. Regarding Nebuchadnezzar II, biblical accounts suggest he foresaw Babylon's fall in a dream where a statue representing successive kingdoms, including Babylon, was destroyed by a rock becoming a great mountain. This prophecy, interpreted by Daniel, signaled divine judgment on empires. Babylon post-conquest became a hub of learning, where scholars calculated the solar year and created the first horoscope. Alexander the Great's invasion in 353 BC added Greek influence to the region, followed by periods of instability until the Parthians took control in the late 2nd century BC, marking Babylon's eventual decline. In Christian theology, the term Antichrist appears sparingly in the New Testament, specifically in the epistles of John. It refers to a figure who opposes Christ and deceives believers in the end times. Jesus warned of false prophets who would deceive many by claiming divine authority. The Gospel of Mark cautions against false messiahs and prophets who perform miracles to mislead. The Apostle John writes of many antichrists heralding the last hour by denying Jesus as the Son of God. While the term Antichrist commonly refers to a singular malevolent figure, early Christianity sometimes portrayed it as a collective concept. The idea of false teachers and its implications for the future remain open to interpretation and speculation. It could signify the emergence of cult leaders or individuals distorting Christ's teachings, leading others astray from true faith. Alternatively, it might denote a broader rejection of Christ and his divinity by a significant portion of humanity. Regardless, such scenarios are ominous, suggesting a dark period for humanity. In contrast, the Book of Revelation, the apocalyptic finale of the New Testament, offers a different perspective on the end times. As the sole prophetic book in the New Testament, Revelation provides a detailed narrative of events leading to the world's end. This visionary text uses rich symbolism and allegory to depict cosmic battles, divine judgments, and the eventual triumph of good over evil. When the Lamb, representing Jesus Christ, opens the mystical 7 seals, chaos ensues. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse announce impending calamity, followed by 7 angels blowing trumpets, unleashing elemental catastrophes that claim countless lives. Amidst these visions are symbolic figures, including a great dragon symbolizing Satan, who opposes God and leads people astray. Another figure, the second beast, resembling the classic Antichrist, deceives people into idolatry with the number 666, associated with Satanism. This second beast parallels the Antichrist mentioned in the letters of John. Ultimately, God's forces prevail, consigning the devil, Antichrist, and their followers to a lake of burning sulfur before the final judgment, where individuals are judged and assigned to either paradise or hell. Finally, God creates a new heaven and earth, dwelling among his people. Over centuries, the figure of the Antichrist has captivated Christian scholars who have interpreted its form and speculated on its arrival. Historical figures, from Roman emperors like Nero to more recent leaders, have been equated with the Antichrist. The concept of false prophets, as mentioned in John's letters, underscores the Antichrist's spiritual nature, potentially manifesting in various forms throughout history. This spiritual presence, as John warns, is already in the world, awaiting recognition. In modern times, the concept of the Antichrist persisted, notably during the Nazi regime, where Adolf Hitler was often vilified as embodying the Antichrist. Propaganda and opposition alike portrayed him as such, reflecting deep-seated beliefs about ultimate evil and redemption. This historical context underscores how interpretations of the Antichrist have evolved, resonating through different eras and cultural narratives. The concept of the Antichrist continues to intrigue, especially in the United States, where concerns about a false prophet loom large. This anxiety is fueled by prominent preachers in American media who interpret biblical prophecies for vast audiences. Some clergy believe the Antichrist's arrival is imminent, while others see signs of his spirit in current political and social trends. Issues like globalization, surveillance, cashless transactions, and digital data processing are seen as harbingers of a future world government under his influence. These modern interpretations often intertwine with conspiracy theories like the New World Order, which speculate on technologies such as mind-controlling microchips. While these technologies are initially intended for medical use, fears about their potential misuse highlight concerns about individual freedom and autonomy. In today's uncertain world, where reality echoes dystopian sci-fi, the concept of the Antichrist offers a framework to critique and understand the complexities of contemporary society. Regarding the fate of the 12 apostles, while most are familiar with Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper, the subsequent journeys of these key figures in Christianity are less widely known. Who were they, and how did they meet their often brutal ends? Before delving into their individual stories, it's important to define what an apostle is within Christian tradition. Apostles were Jesus' closest companions entrusted with spreading the faith, though their roles and mentions in the Bible vary widely. For instance, some Gospels mention different apostles or use the term inconsistently, adding layers of complexity to their narratives. The list of 12 apostles includes Simon Peter, his brother Andrew, James the Elder, John, Jesus' beloved disciple, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Judas Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot. Historically, there's debate over whether Jesus formally appointed a specific group of 12 messengers. It's important not to conflate apostle with disciple, as the latter encompassed a broader group, including women like Mary Magdalene, Martha of Bethany, and Lazarus' sisters. Following Jesus' resurrection, he commissioned his disciples to spread his teachings. The New Testament provides limited details about the apostles' lives post-resurrection, notably in Acts 12, where King Herod persecutes them. Peter is miraculously freed by an angel after James, John's brother, is killed. Additional accounts, like the Acts of Peter, 2nd century apocryphal text, elaborate on the apostles' later fates. Peter allegedly requested crucifixion upside down to differentiate his death from Jesus. The circumstances surrounding Matthew's death vary. While some sources suggest a peaceful passing, others describe martyrdom in places like Ethiopia or Persia, with conflicting details on the method of execution. Legend claims Matthew's relics were transported to Salerno, though this remains unverified. Modern scholars dispute Matthew's authorship of the Gospel attributed to him since the 2nd century. Andrew, like Peter, endured martyrdom, reportedly on an X-shaped cross, refusing a death similar to Jesus. This cross became known as St. Andrew's Cross, a symbol in early Christianity. Simon the Zealot, like James the son of Alphaeus, is mentioned solely in the list of apostles. According to Hippolytus' letter, he reportedly lived to the legendary age of 120 years, though other sources suggest a different fate. Simon was said to have been crucified in his old age, with some traditions placing his death in Caucasia, Persia, or even England. Iconographic representations often show him with a saw, symbolizing the tradition that his body was violently sawn in two. Similarly, Thaddeus has conflicting accounts regarding his death. Some sources claim he peacefully passed away in Syria after a life devoted to spreading Christianity, while others describe him as a martyr, dying by sword, stoning, or cudgel. The apocryphal Acts of Thomas narrate Thomas's death in India, where he was reportedly pierced with spears by soldiers during prayer. Judas Iscariot, infamous for betraying Jesus to the Romans, is portrayed differently across biblical texts. In Matthew's Gospel, he repented after betraying Jesus, returning the silver, and then hanging himself. The Acts of the Apostles, however, describe a more gruesome end. Judas purchased a field with his betrayal money, had a fatal accident where his body burst open and his entrails spilled out. The Turin shroud, a highly debated relic, is believed by some to be the cloth that wrapped Jesus after his crucifixion. It emerged in the 14th century and bears a front and back image resembling Jesus. While it fuels speculation about Jesus' resurrection, skeptics argue it may be a medieval forgery, citing carbon dating suggesting it originates from the 13th to 14th centuries and findings of pigments inconsistent with bloodstains. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered between 1947 and 1956 in caves in the West Bank, comprise a collection of 850 scroll fragments. These scrolls, primarily written in Hebrew with some in Greek and Aramaic, date from around 250 BC to 70 AD. They offer insights into biblical history and stories, paralleling many found in modern Bibles. Interestingly, they sometimes include additional texts or variations in wording, suggesting ancient scribes may have interpreted and embellished these narratives. This raises questions about the accuracy of translations over time, including the widely used King James Version. Despite variations, the scrolls affirm many long-standing biblical accounts, shedding light on the ancient world and cautioning about the potential biases of historical interpreters. One of the most famous biblical tales, Noah's flood, has sparked ongoing debate among scholars. While traditionally seen as a symbolic narrative, some researchers argue for its literal occurrence. Increasing evidence suggests a catastrophic flood did impact the Earth millennia ago, adding layers of intrigue to this ancient account. Before delving into the awe-inspiring backdrop of the Great Flood, let's first grasp the essence of this biblical catastrophe. Genesis 7 recounts how God instructed Noah, a righteous man, to build an ark. He was to gather pairs of animals to survive the impending 40-day deluge that would cleanse the earth of all life. Noah, faithfully following God's commands at the age of 600, embarked on this monumental task with his family and the animals. Amidst the flood's narrative, we encounter intriguing references to the 7 wise men, who not only survived, but also laid the groundwork for a new era of human civilization. Who were these enigmatic figures, and how did they influence the construction of ancient temples and Egyptian pyramids? Exploring ancient mysteries often leads us to mystical temples like Egypt's Temple of Edfu, dating back to around 237 to 57 BC. Nestled between Luxor and Aswan, this temple's walls are adorned with intricate symbols and fragmented inscriptions believed to hold secrets about the cosmos' origins. Scholars interpret these texts as offering profound insights into historical truths that challenge conventional wisdom. The temple, symbolizing a divine origin dating to the world's beginning, was a beacon of sacred knowledge. But what does beginning of the world truly signify? Was it the creation of earth, or the Egyptian concept of Zep Tepi, an age when gods lived among humans? During this primordial era, divine knowledge, later compiled in sacred texts, included the locations of sacred mountains. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions frequently mention a group of 7 wise men, revered for their divine knowledge in building temples and holy cities. These sages oversaw construction projects from these sacred mountaintops, possibly linked to the majestic pyramids. Thoth, the Egyptian god of the moon, was believed to have collaborated with these wise men, driving forward monumental construction endeavors. Thus, the legacy of the 7 wise men intertwines with ancient mysteries, revealing glimpses of a past where gods and humans converged, shaping civilizations and leaving enduring monuments to their achievements. The intriguing and accessible, remarkable discoveries. The issue with the group being 7 in number is that modern knowledge offers no further information about this enigmatic group. It's important to remember that the Old Testament isn't the only source documenting such catastrophes, as stories of devastating floods are also found among the Samaritans, Babylonians, Greeks, and other ancient peoples. In this context, it seems plausible that the biblical flood narrative has roots in much older tales. A pivotal archaeological find occurred in Assyria in 1849, when British archaeologist Austen Henry Layard and his team unearthed approximately 25,000 cuneiform tablets. These tablets not only listed the kings who ruled the region before and after a great flood, but also included the renowned Epic of Gilgamesh. Interestingly, this aspect of the discovery only gained widespread attention over 2 decades later, in 1872, when George Smith delved deeper into the collection of tablets. The epic recounts the journey of Gilgamesh, the hero king of Uruk, who seeks immortality by searching for the ancestor of humanity. Of particular interest today is the 11th tablet, titled The Flood, where Gilgamesh learns from Utnapishtim why he achieved immortality while Gilgamesh cannot. This revelation unveils ancient secrets of a catastrophic event long ago. The similarities between this account and the biblical story of Noah suggest the latter is likely a derivative of the Gilgamesh tablet. It's worth noting that the tablet's version is incomplete, reconstructed from fragments of Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian, and other traditions. The tale of Ziusudra's ark recounts how the god Enki warned Ziusudra of an impending cataclysm that would devastate all life. Following divine instructions received in a dream, Ziusudra promptly dismantled his house to construct a large ship for protection. He was strictly instructed not to warn others. Once completed, the ship carried Ziusudra, his family, and many animals through the flood. After the waters receded, Ziusudra and his wife were deified and welcomed to a mythical land of bliss as a reward for saving life. The search for the origins of flood myths takes us beyond the familiar biblical narrative. Flood stories are found in diverse cultures worldwide, from Hinduism and ancient Icelandic sagas to Aboriginal Australian lore and Chinese antiquity. With such a rich tapestry of sources, can we dismiss these stories as purely metaphorical? Could they all stem from a single myth spread and adapted across different civilizations? While many floods have indeed occurred throughout history, some suggest these sagas might reflect actual events embellished over time. Between 13,000 and 9,000 BC, parts of Asia and Europe witnessed massive continental floods, likely triggered by ice dams breaking. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and the breaching of the Black Sea are also theorized as causing ancient deluges. Another intriguing perspective places the flood's origin not on Earth, but in the celestial realm, possibly linked to asteroid impacts. One theory posits that an ancient cosmic collision, such as a meteorite strike, generated a colossal tidal wave, possibly inspiring legends of catastrophic floods and even the myth of Atlantis. Austrian researcher Otto Heinrich Muck ventured further, suggesting that an asteroid impact around 8498 BC not only triggered a biblical-scale flood, but also led to the destruction of Atlantis. His analysis of flood legends across cultures led him to this dramatic conclusion, blending scientific inquiry with the allure of ancient mythology. Noah's Ark is a profoundly significant story across various religious traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. What makes this narrative intriguing is its widespread cultural presence, also noted among the Samaritans, who referred to a great flood akin to Noah's story. While historical texts suggest a global deluge thousands of years ago, scientists have long debated the validity of these accounts. Questions have been raised about the feasibility of constructing and navigating such a colossal ship during a catastrophic flood, as well as its capacity to accommodate a vast array of animals. Recent developments, however, have reignited interest in the story. In April 2010, Chinese researchers claimed to have discovered remnants of Noah's Ark in the mountains of Ararat in Turkey, aligning with the biblical accounts. They assert a high level of confidence in their findings, presenting evidence such as wood fragments and rope remnants believed to be from the Ark. Their announcement was accompanied by detailed photographs and videos disseminated globally to shed light on this potentially historic discovery. A team of scientists from Noah's Ark Ministries International, a Christian organization, reported discovering a large structure resembling Noah's Ark about 4,000 meters above sea level on Mount Ararat, which reaches about 5,500 meters high. They found pieces of cypress wood believed to be around 4,800 years old, consistent with the biblical timeline of around 6,000 years. What's remarkable is not just the discovery of the wood Noah supposedly used, but also segmented compartments resembling animal stalls, large enough to house pairs of most earthly animals, including lions, bears, and elephants. The exact location was kept secret by the Turkish government pending further excavation, fueling speculation about the authenticity of the find. Many scientists doubt such a discovery is possible after millennia, with some outright denying the historical existence of Noah's Ark. However, proponents argue for the flood's historicity based on numerous eyewitness accounts across ancient civilizations purportedly descended from Noah's lineage. Controversy persists, with claims that a Kurdish guide may have fabricated the discovery by hauling wood up the mountains, aging it under snow, potentially as a scam to exploit interest in the biblical narrative. These allegations remain unproven, leaving the authenticity of the Ark's discovery unresolved. Some researchers who consider the story of Noah's Ark to be authentic also question the plausibility of finding the Ark at such a high altitude. They argue that if the biblical account is true, it's unlikely that floodwaters could have risen sufficiently to place the Ark more than 4,000 meters above sea level. According to these scientists, the sheer volume of water required to lift a vessel to such heights simply isn't feasible. The historicity of the biblical flood remains a multifaceted issue, encompassing perspectives from history, geology, and archaeology. The flood narrative, a significant element in many religious traditions, poses challenges in determining its factual basis due to limited empirical evidence and the symbolic nature of religious texts. Scientifically, ongoing debates and research explore the plausibility of large-scale flooding events in various historical contexts, particularly in the ancient Mesopotamian region where the biblical story is set. Geological findings, such as sedimentary layers and other markers, are continually analyzed. Some researchers interpret ancient flood deposits as potential evidence of catastrophic ancient floods, yet questions persist regarding their extent, timing, and correlation with the biblical account. Moreover, flood stories are found in diverse cultures worldwide, prompting inquiries into their universality and origins. Ultimately, the veracity of the biblical flood narrative remains a matter of personal interpretation and faith. Like many religious texts, individuals approach the flood story from literal, allegorical, or symbolic perspectives. The Book of Enoch, part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, is the oldest known apocalyptic text in history. Despite focusing on a biblical figure mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, it was not included in the official canons of Christianity and Judaism. To understand Enoch's significance and why his story was preserved, we turn to the canonical Bible, where information about Enoch is sparse. In Genesis, Enoch is briefly mentioned as the son of Jared, descended from Seth, Adam and Eve's third son. Notably, Enoch lived for nearly 365 years, and his descendants, including Methuselah, reputedly lived close to 1,000 years, making him famous as a forefather before the flood. The New Testament elaborates further on Enoch's story. According to the Epistle to the Hebrews, Enoch found favor with God due to his unwavering faith and was taken directly to heaven without experiencing death. This event marks the conclusion of Enoch's biblical narrative. To explore more about this intriguing figure and the supernatural experiences associated with him, we must turn to additional texts, the apocryphal Enoch books and scrolls. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls between 1947 and 1956 revolutionized the study of the Hebrew Bible. Among these ancient scrolls, the Ethiopian Book of Enoch stands out as the oldest known apocalyptic writing, likely dating back to the 3rd century BC. This discovery is significant because it predates even the Book of Revelation in the New Testament, which is dated around 95 AD. The Ethiopian Book of Enoch is named so because it has been preserved primarily in the ancient Ethiopian language. It holds a central place within the Ethiopian Church, but has not been included in the canon of other Jewish and Christian communities worldwide. This raises questions about whether it contains hidden knowledge that challenges our religious beliefs and understanding of the world. Enoch's ascent to heaven, as mentioned earlier, portrays him being taken up by God while still alive. The specifics of this event are not detailed in the Bible, but are expounded upon in the Ethiopian Book of Enoch. It suggests that during his ascent, Enoch gained profound insights into ancient divine mysteries and witnessed the fall of the angels, providing a deeper perspective on his extraordinary experiences. To understand this, let's delve into a specific text from the collection known as the Book of the Watchers. According to tradition, the angel Semjaza leads a group of celestial beings who decide to descend to earth. Their aim is to cohabit with human women and father offspring. This union between earthly and heavenly beings results in fearsome giants, causing chaos in the world and drawing God's anger. In response, God banishes the angels from heaven and sentences them to be cast into a lake of fire on Judgment Day, wiping out the giants from the earth. Despite their pleas for mercy, God remains firm. Enoch plays a crucial role here. He is tasked with delivering God's judgment to the fallen angels after being visited by 2 angels and escorted to heaven. During his journey, Enoch gains deep insights into the divine realm. Unlike other religious texts that describe a single heavenly domain, the Book of Enoch suggests there are 7 distinct levels of heaven, potentially housing different entities. This divergence may explain why some religions do not include it in their canon. Unlike other books in the Hebrew Bible, which mention only one heaven, Enoch describes a hierarchy of heavens. The first heaven contains the clouds and stars, while the second is where the fallen angels await judgment. The third heaven resembles biblical paradise, housing both righteous souls and a place for sinners' punishment. Beyond the sun, moon, and formidable guardians lies the seventh and highest heaven, where God's throne resides, and only a select few archangels dwell alongside the Creator. The process of selecting canonical texts aimed to preserve the Bible's coherence and integrity as a reliable guide for Christian faith and practice. The Book of Enoch, however, stands apart due to its narrative divergence from the other 66 books of the Bible and its questionable origins. While fragments in Aramaic indicate some ancient awareness among Jews and Christians, there's no evidence it underwent the rigorous scrutiny typical of other biblical texts by early Christians in the 1st century. Enthusiasts of Enoch and supporters of theories such as pre-astronautics present various reasons why they believe the Book of Enoch was excluded from the Bible. However, from a strictly historical perspective, it becomes evident that the Book of Enoch does not align with the established criteria for biblical canon. The idea that the Book of Enoch was deliberately omitted from the Bible as part of a global conspiracy, and that its content actually describes a story of alien abduction, is quite sensational. This interpretation stems from the pre-astronautics paradigm, which proposes that ancient civilizations were visited by extraterrestrial beings. In this view, the entity described in the Book of Enoch as descending to Earth and interacting with humans is not perceived as a divine being, but rather as an alien. The figure traditionally seen as God is reinterpreted as the leader of these extraterrestrial beings rather than the divine creator. Enoch's reported journey to paradise is then interpreted not as an ascent to heaven, but as a classic case of alien abduction. From this perspective, the events witnessed by Enoch during his journey may be understood through encounters with advanced extraterrestrial technology and beings. This theory offers an intriguing, albeit speculative, alternative to conventional religious interpretations of the Book of Enoch. It diverges significantly from mainstream religious beliefs and interpretations of biblical texts. The concept that extraterrestrial intelligences interacted openly with humanity in the past, being revered as divine beings, is a compelling idea within the realm of pre-astronautics. Some proponents of this theory suggest that another visit from these beings is imminent as they continue to observe our species. Given our current technological advancements, particularly in destructive capabilities like atomic weapons, they may perceive humanity as being on the brink of self-destruction. Thus, according to proponents of pre-astronautics, these unseen observers might intervene to steer us back onto the right path. Babylon, a city steeped in both reverence and mystery throughout history, was situated along the Euphrates River approximately 50 miles south of present-day Baghdad, serving as the capital of the Babylonian Empire. While much of its history remains shrouded, ancient texts and archaeological discoveries offer glimpses into its significance. The first documented mention of Babylon dates back to a clay tablet from the era of Sargon of Akkad, around 2334 2279 BC. As a thriving metropolis, Babylon played a pivotal role in ancient Mesopotamia, renowned for its architectural marvels, cultural achievements, and strategic importance. Babylon, once a thriving hub of civilization, has sparked numerous theories about its eventual decline. Both biblical texts and historical records offer glimpses into its fate. By the 10th century AD, Babylon's original name had faded into obscurity as the city fell into decline and eventually became abandoned. The last inhabitants settled in a nearby village before being driven out, leading to Babylon's final disappearance. At its peak, Babylon epitomized urban civilization and enjoyed unparalleled popularity, possibly hosting over 200,000 inhabitants, a remarkable achievement for its era. Encompassing approximately 2,800 acres, Babylon's vast expanse underscored its grandeur in ancient Mesopotamia. Though Babylon's glory days have passed, echoes of its former splendor remain in archaeological sites. Visitors today can explore these remnants, which offer glimpses into its ancient grandeur. Despite enduring raids and the ravages of time, these sites continue to attract tourists worldwide, connecting them to a significant chapter in human history. Herodotus, the Greek historian, was captivated by Babylon's grandeur and size, describing it as surpassing any other city in the world. Babylon's transformation into a cosmopolitan center began in the 3rd millennium BC, setting the stage for the magnificent city admired by Herodotus centuries later. Babylon, originally a modest settlement located about 90 kilometers south of present-day Baghdad, started its journey far from the bustling city it would later become. Its true rise began under King Hammurabi, the 6th ruler of Babylon's first dynasty, who reigned from 1792 to 1750 BC. Hammurabi's rule was marked by extensive expansion, conquering new territories and asserting Babylon's dominance by defeating Assyrian rulers and extracting tributes from their successors. Under Hammurabi's leadership, Babylon flourished into a major power in Mesopotamia. He reformed the city's administration, boosted agriculture, and undertook grand construction projects like building magnificent temples dedicated to the gods. Despite his military ambitions, Hammurabi prioritized improving the lives of his people in every aspect. By the time of his death, Babylon had become the heart of a vast empire spanning Mesopotamia. However, the political legacy of Hammurabi's successors couldn't endure, leading to Babylon's first golden age being relatively short-lived. Over time, the empire fell to various foreign rulers, including the Hittites, Kassites, and eventually the Assyrians. The Neo-Assyrian Empire itself fell into disarray after the death of Ashurbanipal, plunging into civil war. Seizing this opportunity, the Chaldean leader Nabopolassar formed alliances and eventually overthrew the Neo-Assyrians, establishing the Neo-Babylonian Empire in 605 BC. Nabopolassar's ambition was realized as he ascended to the throne, passing on his fortified capital and vast wealth to his son, Nebuchadnezzar II, upon his death. Nebuchadnezzar II dedicated himself to upholding his father's legacy and elevating Babylonia to the pinnacle of ancient society, a goal he successfully achieved. Under his reign, the Neo-Babylonian Empire extended its influence over Assyria, much of Asia Minor, northern Arabia, Israel, and Phoenicia. Nebuchadnezzar II undertook ambitious projects that secured his place in history, including the expulsion of Jews from Babylon, the conquest of Jerusalem, and the construction of iconic structures like the Ishtar Gate and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. However, historical debate persists regarding whether Nebuchadnezzar II commissioned the construction of the Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Similarly contentious is the attribution of the legendary Tower of Babel to Nebuchadnezzar. This biblical tale, found in the Old Testament, symbolizes humanity's ambition to rival God by building a tower to reach the heavens. In response to this defiance, God intervened by confusing the builders' languages, halting construction and scattering them across the world, thus explaining the diversity of languages. According to biblical tradition, this event marked the origin of the world's languages, as the dispersed groups carried their respective tongues to different corners of the globe, laying the foundation for the linguistic diversity we observe today. The successors to Nebuchadnezzar II, who ruled after him, lacked the prowess of their renowned predecessor. In the decade following Nebuchadnezzar's death, the Neo-Babylonian Empire saw 4 different rulers. The final monarch, Nabonidus of Assyrian lineage, envisioned himself as the heir to Assyria, a once dominant empire subdued by the Babylonians. During his 17-year reign, Nabonidus endeavored to revive ancient architectural and cultural traditions, earning him the retrospective title of the Archaeologist King. Despite his efforts, Nabonidus faced significant public disapproval, particularly from Marduk's priests. This discontent stemmed from his policies favoring the moon god Sin over Marduk, the traditional Babylonian deity. Compounding his unpopularity were Nabonidus's prolonged absences from the capital. Scholars still debate the reasons behind these frequent departures, ranging from scholarly pursuits to illness to possible bouts of insanity. Consequently, the populace lacked confidence in their ruler, leading to periods of turmoil and uncertainty in the city whenever Nabonidus was away and unable to govern effectively. At the height of its power, Babylon faced a dramatic decline, coinciding with the rise of the Persian Empire under Cyrus II. The turning point came in 549 BC, when the Persians decisively defeated the Lydians, sending shockwaves across the region and posing a direct threat to Babylonia. Surrounded by the expanding Persian forces, Babylon eventually fell, marking the end of its era as the capital of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The exact circumstances of Babylon's fall are shrouded in varying ancient accounts. Some, like Herodotus and Xenophon, describe a siege leading to Babylon's downfall, while others suggest Babylon surrendered peacefully. Despite the uncertainty, the Persian victory led to significant changes. Babylonia became a crucial province of the Persian Empire, adopting Aramaic as its official language, while Akkadian remained preferred among local scholars. Cyrus II's policy included allowing exiled Jews from Babylon to return to their homeland, a pivotal moment in Jewish history. Nebuchadnezzar II, often celebrated as Babylonia's greatest king, foresaw his empire's fall in a dream according to Old Testament accounts, a statue crushed by a massive rock, symbolizing the succession of kingdoms. Beyond religious narratives, Babylon's defeat ushered in a fascinating period. As a Persian province, it became a hub of scientific inquiry. In the 5th century BC, astronomers there calculated the solar year and later pioneered the first horoscope in history. In 353 BC, Alexander the Great's conquest reached Babylonia, where Greek victors embraced local culture while integrating their own traditions and achievements. Following Alexander's death, his fragmented generals clashed, plunging the region into raids and devastation. Eventually, the Seleucids were ousted by the Parthians in the late 2nd century BC, marking the decline of this once great city. According to the New Testament, a future figure, the Antichrist, will arise to challenge Jesus Christ's teachings and deceive believers during the biblical end times. The term Antichrist appears sparingly in the epistles of John, while similar concepts like false teachers, apostles, and prophets are mentioned in the Gospels. Jesus prophesied the arrival of individuals claiming divine authority to deliver messages to humanity. The Gospel of Mark warns against false claims of the Messiah's return, cautioning that many impostors will emerge, performing deceptive acts to mislead even the faithful. These deceivers, often seen as adversaries of Jesus, are portrayed as agents of destruction sent by malevolent forces. Similarly, in John's first letter, the rise of numerous antichrists heralds an approaching era's end, identifiable by their denial of Jesus as the Son of God. Early Christian literature occasionally portrays the Antichrist not as a singular figure, but as a collective of false prophets and teachers. Their emergence suggests a troubling future, potentially marked by the rise of cult leaders or distortions of Christ's teachings that lead people astray. Alternatively, it might signify a broader rejection of Christ's divinity by a significant portion of humanity. Despite the ominous tone, the Book of Revelation offers a contrasting view. It presents a vivid narrative of the end times, using symbols and allegories to depict cosmic conflicts, divine judgments, and the eventual triumph of good over evil. When the Lamb, symbolizing Jesus Christ, opens the mystical 7 seals of the book, it heralds a time of profound turmoil for earth. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse announce impending calamity, followed by 7 angels sounding 7 trumpets. These events unleash elemental catastrophes, causing widespread loss of life, including fire and blood rains, the descent of a massive burning mountain, and the poisoning of Christ's adversaries. Amidst these trials, a great dragon representing Satan from Babylonian mythology also emerges. In this narrative, we encounter opposition to God, encouraging disobedience among people. A second beast, reminiscent of the classic Antichrist, appears. It poses as a prophet, urging Christians to forsake God and worship the first beast, known by the idolatrous name 666. This number holds significant occult meaning, often associated with Satanism due to its sinister connotations. Ultimately, these figures are judged for their actions, consigned to either hell or paradise. God then creates a new heaven and earth, dwelling with his people, triumphing over the Antichrist. Throughout history, interpretations of the Antichrist have evolved, identifying various figures like Roman emperors Nero and Domitian, and later Islamic conquerors, as embodiments of this diabolical adversary. Consider a passage from the 4th chapter of 1 John. It warns, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world." This passage teaches us to discern the Spirit of God. Every spirit that acknowledges Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh belongs to God, while any spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. It suggests that false prophets, synonymous with the Antichrist, can manifest as deceptive spirits rather than physical beings, sent not by God, but by the devil. This implies that you may have encountered the Antichrist spirit without realizing it. The passage concludes ominously, stating, "This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard is coming, and even now is already in the world." It confirms that the Antichrist is already among us. The concept of the Antichrist remains relevant across history. In the 1520s, Martin Luther believed the entire papacy embodied the Antichrist. Many others throughout history have been suspected of embodying this false prophetic spirit. Jumping to the 20th century, amidst the horrors of World War I from 1914 to 1918, the motif persisted. Both sides demonized each other, often labeling opponents as agents of evil. Post-war, the Antichrist figure was even used in anti-Semitic propaganda, particularly by the Nazi regime, which portrayed Jews as a malevolent force plotting global domination through deceit and conspiracy. This demonization fueled the Nazis' justification for the genocide of Jews, equating their annihilation with the supposed salvation of the Aryan race. This dark perspective found its way into public consciousness through various channels. Even Adolf Hitler, infamous for his cruelty, shared these inhumane beliefs. In his diary, he wrote, "The Jew is likely the Antichrist of world history." On the opposing side, a starkly different narrative emerged. While many Nazis saw themselves as righteous saviors and warriors of God, their adversaries often branded the Nazi regime as embodying the Antichrist. Hitler himself was sometimes portrayed as the devil incarnate. In 1941, preacher Arnold Custer delivered a sermon outlining 7 traits of the Antichrist, strikingly reminiscent of Adolf Hitler. The White Rose Resistance echoed this sentiment, labeling Hitler the harbinger of the Antichrist in their leaflets. The concept of the Antichrist continues to captivate imaginations, particularly in the United States, where fears of a false prophet run deep. This anxiety is fueled by influential preachers in American media who interpret biblical prophecies to large audiences. Some clergy believe the Antichrist's arrival is imminent, while others see his spirit in current political and social trends. The dissolution of national borders, advances in surveillance, cashless transactions, and digital data processing are seen as ominous signs of an impending global authority and the Antichrist's influence. Modern interpretations of the Antichrist often intersect with conspiracy theories about the New World Order, including fears of microchips designed for mind control. While such technology is intended for medical use, concerns about its potential misuse highlight worries about individual autonomy and free thought. In this uncertain landscape, where reality sometimes resembles dystopian fiction, the concept of the Antichrist offers a framework to analyze and critique the complexities of modern society. Whether or not we're art enthusiasts, we've all encountered Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. While the Bible tells us much about the subsequent journeys of Jesus Christ, what happened to two of his apostles remains a mystery. Thomas, one of the apostles, met a particularly cruel fate. According to tradition, when confronted by soldiers, he urged them, "Come and fulfill the commands of the one who sent you." They then pierced him with their spears, leading to his tragic death. This account is echoed in the Epistle of Hippus, which places Thomas's martyrdom in India. Judas Iscariot, infamous for betraying Jesus to the Romans, played a pivotal role in the Saviour's crucifixion. In the Gospel of Matthew, he remorsefully returned the 30 pieces of silver received for his betrayal and subsequently hanged himself. The Acts of the Apostles presents a more grisly end. Judas used his ill-gotten gains to purchase a field, where he met a fatal accident that resulted in his body breaking apart, with his entrails spilling out. Legend has it that the field, known as the Field of Blood, still contains his remains. One of the most contentious relics associated with biblical history is the Turin shroud, purportedly the cloth that wrapped Jesus of Nazareth after his crucifixion. Discovered in the 14th century in Israel, the shroud bears the faint image of a man resembling Jesus. While burial cloths were commonly used in antiquity and typically decayed with the body, the existence of this particular shroud has sparked debates. Some view it as potential evidence supporting the resurrection of Jesus, yet its authenticity has been vigorously scrutinized by researchers and scientists. In the 1970s, the Turin shroud faced scrutiny from researchers who initially dismissed it as a forgery. However, a closer examination revealed that its intricate sewing technique matched ancient Israelite methods. Yet, in the 1980s, radiocarbon dating offered a conflicting perspective. While carbon dating isn't always precise, it usually errs by dating items as older than they are. Surprisingly, the results indicated the cloth likely originated in the 13th or 14th centuries. Further analysis detected traces of pigments, suggesting the supposed bloodstains were actually artificial. Given its late discovery relative to Jesus' time, skepticism naturally arises around its authenticity, making it a fascinating but contentious find. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered between 1947 and 1956 in West Bank caves, are another pivotal discovery. Comprising 850 scrolls, they date from 250 BC to 70 AD and primarily feature biblical texts. Written in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, they include scriptures not just of Christianity, but also other religions. What makes the scrolls compelling is their alignment with modern Bible narratives, affirming ancient stories, characters, and teachings. While some scrolls offer variations or additional texts, they largely validate traditional biblical accounts. This insight challenges certain translations, notably the widely used King James Version, highlighting how translators may have influenced interpretations over time. The scroll's significance lies in confirming centuries-old biblical narratives and cautioning us about the agendas that could influence our understanding of ancient texts. The story of Noah's flood captivates with its enduring appeal and profound mysteries. While many scholars view it as a symbolic tale, a growing body of researchers argues for its historical reality, citing mounting evidence of a colossal ancient deluge. Before delving into the breathtaking backdrop of the flood, let's revisit its biblical account. Genesis 7 recounts how God instructed Noah to build an ark to save his family and pairs of animals from a devastating rain that would flood the earth for 40 days and nights. Noah, at the age of 600, faithfully carried out God's commands, ensuring the survival of life on earth through this cataclysmic event. Noah, accompanied by his wife, 3 sons, their wives, and a diverse collection of animals, boarded the ark. Curiously, ancient texts mention 7 sages, survivors of the flood, who supposedly laid the groundwork for new civilizations. The identities and roles of these figures remain shrouded in mystery, sparking speculation about their contributions to early human history, including the construction of ancient temples and even the Egyptian pyramids. Among these enigmatic structures is the Temple of Edfu in ancient Egypt, erected between 237 and 57 BC. Nestled between Luxor and Aswan, its walls are adorned with inscriptions believed to hold cosmic origins and historical revelations. Though fragmented, these texts are thought to conceal profound insights that challenge conventional wisdom. As researchers decipher these cryptic messages, they aim to unveil new perspectives on ancient mysteries and the civilizations that flourished in the shadows of these sacred monuments. The Temple of Edfu, a testament to divine craftsmanship, stands as a beacon of ancient wisdom and a link to humanity's spiritual and cultural origins. The 7 Sages. What does the beginning of the world truly signify? Was it the birth of Earth, or perhaps the era known as Zetetic among the Egyptians? This ancient time, according to Egyptian belief, saw gods dwelling alongside humans, sharing divine knowledge eventually compiled into sacred texts. These texts also marked the sacred mountains, where the 7 wise men, repeatedly mentioned in Egyptian temple inscriptions, were said to have overseen the construction of temples and holy cities from their lofty peaks. Of particular intrigue is the speculation linking these sacred mountains to the magnificent pyramids. Thoth, the Egyptian moon god, purportedly collaborated with the 7 sages, driving monumental construction endeavors, including the pyramids. Remarkable discoveries. Despite their numerical designation, the identities of these 7 wise men remain shrouded in mystery today. Turning back to the flood, it's noteworthy that cataclysms like the one described in the Old Testament flood story are echoed in the narratives of Samaritans, Babylonians, Greeks, and other cultures. This suggests the biblical deluge has roots in far older traditions. Consider the groundbreaking find by British archaeologist Austin Henry Layard in Assyria in 1849. His team unearthed approximately 25,000 uniform tablets detailing pre- and post-flood kings. Yet among this archaeological trove lay another significant discovery, the renowned Epic of Gilgamesh. This rephrasing aims to maintain the intrigue and wonder of the original text while making it more accessible and engaging for readers. The Gilgamesh flood. It's fascinating to note that this revelation came more than 2 decades after the initial discovery. In 1872, George Smith deciphered the Epic of Gilgamesh, uncovering the tale of a great flood that engulfed the world and the hero Utnapishtim, who, like Noah, saved mankind and was later elevated to divine status in the land of the blessed. This discovery prompts us to look beyond the confines of biblical narratives. Beyond the Bible, flood myths abound across diverse cultures, from Hinduism to ancient Icelandic sagas, Australian Aboriginal lore, and Chinese antiquity. Given this rich tapestry of accounts, is it plausible to dismiss them all as mere metaphor? Could these stories be echoes of actual catastrophic events, embellished over time? What we do know is that between 13,000 and 9,000 BC, Asia and Europe witnessed repeated continental megafloods. These events, often triggered by ice dam breaches, volcanic eruptions, seismic activity, or the flooding of the Black Sea, are proposed as potential origins of flood narratives. Equally compelling are theories linking the flood not to Earth but to cosmic events, such as meteorite or asteroid impacts. According to some researchers, such an impact could have unleashed colossal tidal waves, shaping ancient flood myths. One particularly adventurous theory by Austrian scholar Otto Henrik Muh suggests that an asteroid impact not only caused a biblical-scale flood, but also led to the destruction of the legendary island kingdom of Atlantis. This rephrasing aims to maintain the intrigue and wonder of the original text while making it more accessible and engaging for readers. In his extensive research on flood legends from various cultures, M concluded that the cataclysm occurred around 8498 BC. The story of Noah's Ark holds profound significance across religious traditions, appearing not only in Christian texts, but also in Judaism and Islam. Interestingly, the Samaritans, descendants of the people of Shinar, also recount a great flood in their lore. While the historicity of these accounts has been debated, recent discoveries have fueled new perspectives. Many skeptics have questioned whether such a massive ship could withstand a catastrophic flood or house such a multitude of animals. However, experts now point to compelling evidence supporting the story's authenticity, including alleged remains discovered in the mountains of Ararat in Turkey. Discovery in the mountains of Ararat. In April 2010, a team of Chinese researchers announced a groundbreaking find, what they believed to be the remnants of Noah's Ark in the Turkish mountains of Ararat, echoing ancient texts. This team, confident at a 99.9% certainty, presented findings such as wood fragments and pieces of rope that likely belonged to the Ark. Their discovery sparked global interest, with extensive photos and videos shared during a widely covered press conference. Similarly, scientists from Noah's Ark Ministries International claim to have located a larger structure at an altitude of around 4,000 meters in the Ararat Mountains, which reach heights of approximately 5,100 meters. This version aims to maintain the intrigue and wonder of the original text while making it more accessible and engaging for readers. The wood fragments discovered are estimated to be around 4,800 years old, aligning closely with the timelines described in the Book of Genesis. According to biblical chronology, which suggests the Earth is approximately 6,000 years old, this finding is significant. Notably, researchers identified fragments of cypress wood, the very material Noah was instructed to use, and observed sections resembling compartments that could have housed pairs of animals. These compartments, resembling stables, were reportedly spacious enough to accommodate pairs of most animal species, including large mammals like lions, bears, and elephants. The exact location of the discovery was initially kept confidential by the Turkish government for further investigation, sparking speculation and skepticism among researchers. Critics argue that such a find would be improbable given the passage of time since the Ark is said to have landed. Some scientists outright reject the existence of Noah's Ark. However, this skepticism contrasts with numerous historical accounts across ancient civilizations that affirm the occurrence of a great flood. Despite these debates, there are considerations that challenge the authenticity of the discovery. Reports suggest a Kurdish mountain guide was observed transporting large quantities of wood to high altitudes, possibly to construct a replica ship. Allegedly, he aged the wood by exposing it to snow and ice, creating an appearance of ancient artifacts recently uncovered after millennia. These complexities underscore the ongoing intrigue and controversy surrounding attempts to verify the biblical narrative through archaeological discoveries. This version aims to maintain the intrigue and wonder of the original text, while presenting the information in a more accessible and engaging manner. The authenticity of these claims remains unverified, leading some to speculate that they could be orchestrated by individuals seeking financial gain by guiding expeditions up the mountain. Meanwhile, Researchers who support the biblical account of Noah's Ark also debate the feasibility of finding the Ark at such a high altitude. They argue that if the flood narrative is true, it's unlikely that water levels could have surged high enough to carry the Ark over 4,000 meters above sea level. According to these scientists, the sheer volume of water required to lift a boat to such heights simply doesn't exist on Earth. The question of whether the biblical flood actually occurred is a complex one, encompassing historical, geological, and archaeological perspectives. While the flood story holds significant religious importance across various traditions, verifying its historical accuracy is challenging due to limited empirical evidence and the symbolic nature of religious texts. Scientific inquiry continues to explore the possibility of large-scale flooding events throughout history, particularly in regions like ancient Mesopotamia, where the biblical narrative is situated. Geological evidence, such as sedimentary layers and ancient flood deposits, has been interpreted by some as potential indicators of past catastrophic floods. Yet, the exact timing and scale of these events and their relationship to the biblical account remain subjects of ongoing study and interpretation. Furthermore, flood narratives are prevalent in diverse cultures globally, prompting inquiry into their universality and origins. Ultimately, the question of whether the biblical deluge described in Genesis is factual is often approached through personal belief, interpretation, and faith. Individuals may view the flood story literally, metaphorically, or symbolically, reflecting the multifaceted nature of religious texts and their significance to different communities. This version aims to maintain the complexity and depth of the original text while presenting the information in a more accessible and engaging manner.